So an immense moment for the Labour Party and its obedient movement. What happens now to the energy they mustered and the inspiring political campaign that took them into the election? After all that strength and common cause in trying to channel the vigour of the NSAS protests into political change at the highest level, the obedient movement seems to be facing crunch time and what some pundits have called a new philosophical existentialism that now questions the very meaning of what they represented. Having lost the ultimate prize of the presidency, at least according to official results, but gaining one governorship seat, 8 senators, 34 representatives in the House and 68 state assembly members, what does that mean for their quest for political power and lasting change? Considering how high the stakes seem to be in this now disputed presidential election, how do they manage their existential anxiety with a crisis of ambiguity in a toxic world of identity politics in which they crave democratic stability whilst lurching in the political wilderness? Sounds fiendishly complicated, doesn't it? Well, to attempt to answer those all-important questions, I'm joined now in the studio by the National Secretary of the Labour Party, Umar Farouk Ibrahim. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me, Dr. Charles.
I'm not a doctor, actually. Just Charles would do.
Charles.
So after the shattering disappointment for you of the presidential elections, can the obedient movement recapture a mood of upbeat confidence going forward?
Well, I think the unfortunate situation we are in which Nigerians have been disenfranchised, plus minus, by the electoral umpire, which we believe the judiciary will take its natural course. So the disappointment is not only for me, but indeed to all well-meaning Nigerians. We are all disappointed.
But in particular reference to the obedient movement, I mean, what is happening? Some have suggested that the movement is in some form of disarray at the moment, that it's not quite sure what direction it needs to go.
Well, honestly, the obedient movement is a patriotic organization now. They are patriotic individuals that come together to look for a way forward, to find a meaning in the way, means, and manner in which the nation is being governed. So those patriotic individuals are still part and parcel of the party. The party have absorbed each and every one of the obedients who feel that beyond the movement that wish or hope to usher in Mr. Obi as the president of Nigeria, they still have the zeal to continue to fight and to struggle for the emancipation and liberation of Nigerians.
But there is a difference, isn't there, between the obedient movement and the Labour Party? Because, I mean, the party has gained one governorship seat, 8 senators, 34 representatives in the House, 68 state assembly members. But the Labour Party would never have achieved such a feat without Peter Obi and the obedient movement. And I'm wondering, what does that mean for the quest for political power and lasting change? Because if the obedient movement divorces itself from the Labour Party will simply go back to what it used to be without really that fundamental energizing elements that it needed to bring it to where it is today.
Well, I will agree with you and disagree with you. I disagree with you the fact that if the obedient movement leave or stop their sport where the election ends, then the Labour Party will go. No,
well, I mean, both Peter Obi and because Peter Obi is inextricably linked to the obedient movement. That's the whole point of the word obedient. You see what I mean?
Yes, the word came as a result of Obi getting the ticket to run for presidency from the Labour Party. So Labour Party, Obi, and the obedient are linked together. Obi will not have been, or may not have, the obedient may not have, find a way to follow Obi if he is in any other party.
No, actually, I think that's wrong.
Well, you may say it is wrong.
Well, I mean, it's not me saying it. I'm simply articulating
I want to correct the impression.
Right, okay.
I want to correct the impression that Obi was in PDP. We didn't see that kind of hype moment.
No, because he didn't become the presidential candidate in the PDP, did he?
Well, we didn't see that hyped when he was in PDP wanting to vying for the presidency during the primary. In any case, we want to assure the obedient that they have a home, they have a place in Labour Party.
And you need
Labour
them,
Party,
don't you? Because if they're not there, then you don't really have much to offer, do you?
But for them, they have a lot to offer, and they have offered a lot.
Right.
And they cannot do as much as they have done if they are not member of the Labour Party.
Okay, well, let's now say, given that you've married the two, I mean, you're saying that there's a symbiotic sort of relationship inside and that the common sort of symbiosis is the Labour Party that brings them together, brings Peter Obi together. In the likely event that Bola Tinubu is sworn in as the next president of Nigeria, which is likely to happen, what sort of romance will the obedient movement have with Mr. Tinubu's government?
Well, as far as the Labour Party is concerned, we are behind Peter Obi. He has filed, the party and the candidate have filed a case at the tribunal, and will not say anything. I will not assume anything will happen until when the case is being determined. But
you have to think ahead.
We've been thinking ahead. Of course, we have our plan B.
Right.
But the issue is all we are wanting is new Nigeria. All we want is to have a Nigeria where peace and justice should reign.
Right.
We want to have a secured Nigeria, a prosperous Nigeria. And anything outside that is not acceptable to Nigerians. And we're not going to accept it.
Right. Well, when you say you're not going to accept it, I'm wondering what your role and your remit, and when I mean I mean the obedient movement inextricably linked with the Labour Party. I wonder what your role and whether your role and your remit will widen to become sort of like that of the opposition, essentially rebutting and questioning government policies in a democratic setting, or will your remit be more like the end SARS remit of dissent and continuing protests? Because, I mean, the two are kind of side by side, aren't they?
Well, you see,
the obedient movement tend to be a little more radical.
The thing is this, of course, I'm more light in bringing the answers, phenomenon with the obedient movement of where they accept democracy and the people come together. They are entirely two different things. It's just that we felt that, Nigerians, we have seen a lot and we're going to see more. But there is nothing new that is going to happen in this country. If the judiciary did the right thing, we will see what we have seen before. And I want to assure you, Nigeria will continue to survive as a nation. But we will continue to strive, and the party will give a playing ground for people who are willing to come and instigate for power shift through democratic means. The party is there, Labour Party is there. We have been in the field, we have been in the political arena, we have had governors before, we have had senators before, we have had a lot of things, but the only thing is that we do not have someone who aspires to be the president that gathers this much momentum as in Peter Obi. So we believe if Peter Obi and the obedient remain with the party, certainly Nigeria is not going to be the same, trash, dustbin where everything will just come and a lot of things will change. Even the way the government is going to be run in the event that I do not foresee that we are not going to win in a clean, clear, court of law. I do not see that. I have in mind that the judiciary will do the right thing. The wrong thing will be reversed. That is my feeling.
Well, obviously, we can't prejudge what the court is going to do.
Well, it's my feeling. It's not prejudging.
No, of course, you're perfectly entitled to your feelings. We'll have to see what happens. But at the moment, the president-elect is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you expect that a Tinubu government will want to control the narrative? And in such circumstances, people who disagree with them, for example, in a fairly radical manner, will be watched and put on file and maybe have their opinions in some ways suppressed, or you don't believe they'll go that far?
Well, what I believe is this: we are now in a new Nigeria. For somebody, no matter how powerful he thinks he is, to come and say that he's going to suppress the earning of Nigerians to have a better Nigeria, he's just been a joker. Presidential or whatever, you cannot suppress the wishes of the people now if you want to have the nation. So we are hoping, whatever the circumstances, whatever the outcome of whatever is going to be, we're going to have a better Nigeria.
Well, when you say better Nigeria, would you say that after the elections, the political divide is now perhaps more rigid than it was before, or is it very finely balanced in a clearly fragmented political system and country?
Well, you see, the problem we have is more of ideological in the way the other presidential candidates and in the other parties and our own presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, look in, the way to govern the country, the way to bring, the desired change in the government in Nigeria. So we are Nigerians. We will not allow Nigeria to rotten at all. We will not allow it. So we will continue to force, to push, to make sure that a better Nigeria is, has arrived. Nobody can change the narrative. It has already been changed. You cannot let them come. They are making noise, talking, doing their, all their, noises. But they're not going to change it. We are there. The good people and the well-meaning Nigerians are watching, and we want to see the outcome of the judgment before anything. First and first.
Well, some would argue that you were watching the elections and the rug was pulled out from under your feet. Now you're watching the courts.
Well, you see,
perhaps, I can't prejudge the court. But if Bola Tinubu wins in the courts and legitimizes his victory at the polls, will it be the end of the agitation against the results of the elections by the obedient movement, the Labour Party? Or will it be that one chapter has closed, but there is much more to come?
Well,
I'm essentially asking you the same question I asked you in a different way.
You did. I know, and I'm going to give you the same answer. We're aiming for a better Nigeria. And I'm sure Mr. Peter Obi is not going to stop short in getting anything less than that. As a president, or as a presidential candidate, or as a citizen. He has the support of the people. We're behind him. And by vote, over 6 million people are behind him to push forward for a better Nigeria. So whoever is on the helm of affairs has a lot to do to make sure that he has also taken good care of the ideological and the inspiration of those people at all. So we want to make sure that
yeah, well, so really, we've literally got a minute or so sort of left, a couple of minutes. Is there a crisis of ambiguity for the movement? I mean, are they in some sort of political wilderness? Is there existential anxiety? I mean, the reason I ask you that is that I'm trying to see what is going on I mean, obviously you can talk about the things you're talking about, but psychologically, at the moment, you are suffering from the agony of defeat because you have been defeated in the election. You're trying to change that in the courts, but I'm wondering whether there is existential anxiety, particularly within the Labour Party, because I mean the obedient movement can just, they can sort of dissipate. But as a party that depended so much on that movement, are you having concerns about what happens next?
Well, honestly, as Labour Party, that is why we open our doors to people who have participated in the obedient movement to come and join the party. Of course, we have been, it's a huge disappointment to well-meaning Nigerians. And you give it to all well-meaning Nigerians if you felt saddened and you felt discouraged. But, we have to sit up, stand off, and then look forward and continue with our ideology to make Nigeria a better place to live. We are bound and we are determined to ensure that happens in Nigeria now or in the future.
Right.
And I call on all obedience to come and have a place in Labour Party. They already have a place. Labour Party is a home for them. It is, a platform legally provided for them to showcase their anger, to showcase their wishes, to showcase their aspiration for a better Nigeria. So Labour Party is a place for them, and it's a place for all well-meaning Nigerians who should come and work together and ensure that we salvage this country.
Okay, on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Umar Farouk Ibrahim is the National Secretary of the Labour Party. Thank you very much indeed, and for coming in. And I know you had to kind of rush in, so I want to allow you to go somewhere and get a bit of air conditioning there. Thank you very much.